There's a certain amount of liberties that we take amongst one another. There's a certain amount of liberty we take amongst ourselves. Liberty is fleeting. It's something we base a country on. It's an idea. It's an idea of free will, free time, free choices. And ultimately, they may take our lives, men, but they'll never take our freedom!
So I'm Dan.
And I'm Nick, folks.
We're old friends dissecting one topic at a time. People, technology, media, we've got it all covered.
Each discussion here is a deep dive into our unique perspective. The taboo, forbidden subjects, they're all on the chopping block, baby. We don't pander to popular opinion. We might even get a little bit dirty.
Warning, this podcast may contain mature language and sexual content, and is for infotainment purposes only.
So join us. Have a good time.
Open up your ear holes, because we're going to fondle your follicles.
Harmony. Quite a harmony.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm Dan.
Beautiful. I'm Nick, folks. And as you'll know from our intro, where I tried to remember the Braveheart accent and couldn't, so I kind of went with like an English one. It was English by accident, and then halfway through I realized it should have been Scottish. But we're going to talk about freedom and liberty and oof, freedom. So much freedom, just crawling with freedom, right?
All over the place, so much freedom. Are we? Would do the types of freedom? Because I had to go to the simple English Wikipedia so that I could spell it out for me.
Do the wiki, dude. We love a wiki here.
So you have the different types of human freedom are association, belief, speech, expression, press, one's state in life. I don't know exactly what that means. I have to click on that one. Religion, cool. Bondage, slavery,
hell yeah,
bear arms. So what does...
I read them as like freedom of slavery, freedom of liberty. Yeah, there's religion, freedom of speech, freedom of all those. State. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are political ones.
It's kind of cool. That makes sense to me, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have them. Totally cool.
Do you exercise those?
Never, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I don't really believe in anything. Nihilist. I don't associate with anything. I do speak, but I don't try to upset anybody, so I'm kind of...
I associate with the gamers. I'm a gamer.
Yeah. You're not allowed to podcast. No podcast.
Ironically, our right to assemble is being... Our freedom of assembly is being threatened right now, right?
Yeah. Do you think that's really...
an issue, I think?
Yeah.
I kind of don't think it is, but I mean... I also could see an argument where maybe it is.
So the one thing I get is if you are reliant on whatever they're blocking you from doing, if they're not allowing you to earn a wage.
Define reliant. Okay, so make money.
Yeah, but there's a lot of catches in there to allow most people to get by, and you could probably subvert it anyway because they don't think the rules are that stringent. So
if your girlfriend was a hairdresser?
Yeah. She wasn't allowed to
and they shut down hair salons?
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to touch people, and they've shut down hair salons and will not let them work. Is that infringing on their freedom to earn a paycheck?
Or if you work on a cruise line or you're a bartender?
I mean, yes and no. Couldn't you argue, well, you're free to get another friggin' job? I'm not saying that. I'm saying, could someone say that?
Work in a warehouse.
You could, right?
Learn to
theoretically.
Code. Hashtag. That's a thing.
Okay. You're like, learn to code, hashtag. And I was like, what the hell is that talking
about? It's like somebody told a trucker to, if he wanted to earn more and not have to truck anymore, he just hashtag learn to code. And it was an offensive thing. Not everyone can code. You uppity bitch.
You uppity bastard. That's interesting. I didn't hear.
Suburban white man telling me to code.
I don't think so.
Freedom of speech.
So, freedom of speech. Even you're not allowed to say certain things,
Yeah.
correct?
Do you think Chinese people do podcasts? I haven't heard one Chinese podcast because I think they're afraid to speak. Communist country.
I think there are some, but I think more like government like mouthpieces, like
Yeah.
essentially the news, but all day.
So there's a piece of this that. Do you think so?
An espresso machine is going off. Is that a
Yeah.
freedom of espresso machine?
It's a whimsical travel. It's a journey into the world of. and then,
Is that what we're doing? Go ahead.
so
So what if I told you?
no, I was gonna go. I don't want to go presidential with it because
Okay.
there's an interesting thing with like freedom of the press. So like the White House correspondents, they have like an association that allows them to be present and interview the president. And what's happening now is definitely like a perspective shifting like moment
Hmm.
where you're trying to force out the people who are asking the real questions, and then you're
Right.
trying to manipulate them. But like the press has their own like stake at like those pressers, and they're allowed to position people where they want. So they actually like had somebody from the presidential party say, "Oh, you can't sit there," and then all of the reporters were like, "No, you don't
Why
control this
not?
part of it
Yeah.
because
It's interesting.
it's part of its necessity that the
I
press."
don't I don't disagree with you. What would you say to the counterpoint where they say, what if like the press was just feeling like Jo in that day and they're like, yeah, we let like 18 homeless guys sit in there and ask the worst questions like, why are radio waves playing with my brain? And like someone else be like, where are you hiding all the money in the tombs? I know the tombs got money. Wouldn't that be like a waste of time and maybe we shouldn't let those people ask questions? What would you say to that? I mean, because that's also saying you can't ask certain
I
questions, or
don't know how
you
they're
only
vetted.
certain people can.
I don't know how they're
So
vetted.
that's
Plus, the White House can refuse access.
they can. So again, that's kind of a play on what is freedom and what isn't. And I think they
Hmm.
do a pretty good job. It's not like they let homeless, crazy people in to ask questions, but
Yeah,
maybe are you saying
they could.
they
Maybe the
could?
homeless guy has something to say.
Maybe he does. I wouldn't be too surprised
Just
nowadays. There's a lot of crazy
throw a
things going
turd right at the president. That would be amazing.
on. It
I'll
would
show
be.
you freedom, and he just like grabs it in his hand and tosses it. Oh man, that would
I
be.
mean, there's
Oh,
this fine line between what you can ask, what you can't ask, and who gets to ask the questions and who doesn't.
that would be illegal, by the way, because it's a biological weapon to throw poop at somebody.
Is it?
Not speech right there.
What about poop at them?
Like in towards like what if you just in their like a foot away from you, but in their general direction? Is
Yeah.
that
Is
still
that
a
illegal?
threat? What if you threw it away from them and we're just like, I could have? Is that still? It could have been in your general
Got a real
direction.
mess on your hands with this whole situation.
What if there's a
That's what it sounds like.
prevailing wind? Is that
Mmm.
could carry the microbes towards a waft in
Or you
your
had like
breath?
gas station sushi right beforehand.
Yeah.
It's projectile at that point, right?
Yeah, I forgot what we were doing. Sorry, I lost you.
Sorry. Yeah, that's all right. We were talking about like the freedoms of like who asks the questions, freedom of press, freedom of speech.
Yeah,
Um,
are we
there are
free in
certain
this
things.
country?
I mean, can you run around and buy Nazi paraphernalia and then do like
Mm.
Hitler hate speech? I feel like you shouldn't be able to, but I'm also not here to say like yeah, it's freedom of speech, but
So Confederate flags. This comes up a lot, where people
okay.
drive around with Confederate flags. Probably not where you live most of the time.
No, not where I live, but
No,
not far.
not
There's
far.
parts of Pennsylvania where it becomes more the norm than you would think.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, we refer to that as.
Pennsylvania. So there's people that drive around with Confederate flags. Some of them have the intention of like separatists and like we wish that we still had all of those things that were probably bad in the Confederate nations. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
say what they were, but um, I also believe that maybe there's a heritage piece of it, and there's maybe different
Okay.
messages associated with the flag. What you see often is that people are against it, like showing it off, and there are people that will like actually like rip down the flag,
Hmm.
and having the flag and displaying the flag is a part of your freedom of expression, and by ripping the flag down, you're actually breaking laws. So Even if you have a Nazi flag or a Confederate flag, or even if you want to take the United States
Even
flag
a
and step
Nazi
on it
one?
and burn it, like that's
It's
you're
illegal?
allowed to do that. But people react like it's an insane thing. Like I don't know how people would react if it was a giant group of people and you burned the American flag in front of them or waved the
Well,
Confederate flag.
here's one of the more infamous things that happens on the internet. You're free to say or do or speak whatever you want. You can say, I love Nazis and I love all sorts of terrible things. Well, if someone can figure out who you are and doxes you and you get fired from your job, technically they haven't broken any laws, have they?
Yeah, because a private enterprise is allowed to do what they like, and people are
Exactly.
allowed to
So
do what they like.
exactly. So the theory here goes, no, it's not illegal to have Nazi, Confederate memorabilia, hate speech, all that. But when something happens to you, or you lose your job, or people threaten you, or you're bullied, or people say, get the hell out of my store, or get the hell out of your job, or I'm not selling you this, or I don't want to serve you, that's their freedom.
Hmm.
So in a way, it kind of polices itself.
Yeah.
It's not like it's illegal to do these things, but guess what? When bad things happen to you because of it, that's on you. And it's not like people are restraining your freedoms, correct?
Yeah, what was the cake shop, that masterpiece cake shop that didn't want to make a cake for the gay couple?
Right.
What turned out in that case? Because the cake shop decided that they didn't want to make a
I
cake for
thought
them.
they didn't have to. Is that correct?
I think they said it was a freedom of expression or freedom of choice to not provide them a cake because of
Right,
enterprise.
which is fine. Well, here, how about this? Could they have made him a cake that was like ugly or didn't say anything at all what they wanted? Was like totally just a piece of garbage cake? Do you know what I mean?
They could have made a shitty cake for them.
Yeah. Could they have? I mean,
I don't.
because it's
So
also their right to never use that grocer, baker, whatever again. Be like, listen, these people are bigots. I don't want to buy a cake from them. I will take my business elsewhere.
I don't know because I think the general thought there are people there out there, a lot of them that are like racists or people that really don't, you know, they don't approve of minorities,
Hmm.
xenophobes, and all those types of people that
Sure,
they
there
might
are
be
those
all
out there.
for it. This is like the kissing at Chick-fil-A thing too. It's like, oh, like let's make a stance and not allow same-sex people to kiss at Chick-fil-A by thing where the Christian
What did they do? I didn't hear
you
this. I
didn't
know
like
that I know they're Christian. I know they close on Sunday. I know they're against gay stuff in general. But
yeah.
did was there a counter move where couples were kissing in Chick-fil-A or?
Yeah. There's groups of like same-sex people kissing in Chick-fil-A. I think the original case was that like there was a PDA, public display of affection between two
Uh,
gay people, and
uh-huh.
Chick-fil-A told them not to. And then there was like a big battle of like the people who stand with Chick-fil-A and say like you can't do that here, and then the people that were like, you know,
It's
we can do
freedom,
it like
freedom.
yeah.
Right. What I think is really funny about it is when you break it down to its ultimatum. Like it's two people who have planned this and showed up at a Chick-fil-A, and then there's like the guy who's working there for like $13 an hour, and he's like, manager, they're kissing. I don't know what's going on. And then there's like a whole bunch of people with cameras and like flashing and saying, "Oh, look what's going on in Chick-fil-A." And the manager's like, "Damn it, what's his name called out sick today? I was supposed to work the register. Now I got they're kissing in here. I got to tell corporate." Like I just think it's funny to think on the human level of the person who was working that day, like not the Chick-fil-A, like
Yeah.
in general, and not gay marriage in general, just a guy who was working there that day and like had to do it. And he was like, "Damn it, I was on register 7 today because Ricky called out, and now I gotta can you take register 7 for me?" "No, I know I told you you're on fries. You're off fries. I'm dealing with this." And it's like, just imagine the scenario that's like, there's really big ideas of freedom and not freedom. But then there's also like a guy who was at work and like someone who was
Has
in
to
line
deal
and
with
like
this
was
shit. Yeah.
like, can you imagine if someone was in line because his like wife and kid were crying and it's like a 2-year old and like they just wanted Chick-fil-A and he's behind them in line and then the scene starts and he's like, "I just wanted like a 5-piece, a sandwich, no pickles," and he's like trying to give his order and there's this big commotion and there's no one's getting their order now and he's like, damn it. The other Chick-fil-A was closed. I came here. It was a 20-minute drive, and he's just like, ugh. Like, I think of that element of the whole thing. I think it's kind of hilarious to think of that.
Yeah, that there's probably a majority of people that are just saddled with
not
all this other
involved.
garbage that other
Yeah,
people
they're
are
not
like
involved in it at
enforcing it.
all.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, I'm not here to do any of this. I was just getting the nuggets. Come on, man.
So did you ever feel
Polynesian
like
sauce.
did you ever feel like you weren't free?
Kind of all the time, but not really. Like, you run into these ideas of, well, think of this. Like, I went to a Catholic grade school. Like,
Hmm.
you couldn't talk. Like, you weren't supposed to do this. Like,
Yeah.
they really were smacking rulers on the desks. And I think I got smacked once on the hand. And I was like, whoa,
Mm.
in first grade, this is a big deal to me.
Oh boy, Nick.
My teacher shook my desk. I told her I had a headache. Like, to me in first grade, that felt like my freedoms are pretty strict. Like, you had to go to the bathroom at 10 a.m. and then after lunch, lavatory line. I mean, that felt like my freedoms were restricted. I couldn't just be like, "Hey, peace, I'm gonna be right back." Do you
So
know what I mean?
yeah, are you free before you're 18? Because you're legally you have to go to school. You can't just
Uh-huh.
like trudge out on your own and be like, I'm gonna make something of myself. Like,
Hmm.
get back there. There might be exceptions, but I think most of the time people have to prove that they're actually going to school.
Interesting. I'm not sure. That's a good point. So then, after 18, are you free?
So it gets into the weirdness of like,
What's free
a
and what's not?
yeah, we're in a country that, for the most part, is very free compared to other
Mhm.
countries. I'll just say that we're
Yes.
privileged,
Yeah. 100%.
and the I guess the terms by which we live in a privileged society is that when you get out and you don't have any, like, if you were to be completely alone at 18 and not have any support, is you're already behind the eight ball and you have probably debt that's piling
Debt
up,
of
things you
some
can't
sort.
pay for, all the stuff that you don't have. You might have a safety net of government subsidies and stuff, but you're pretty screwed for a long time because in order to break free of the cycle of like
Hmm.
being in poverty and middle class and not ever getting out of it, you have to be educated and you have to put money and effort forward. It takes a long time.
To be educated. So here's a
Yeah.
real question. So what you're talking about, I think, is the biggest lack of freedom we have. I think it's financial freedom,
Yep.
which no one has. I mean, well, you can get it. Either you inherit it or you eventually get there, but it takes time, effort, a whole bunch of just putting in hours, putting in putting money down into a system. Correct?
Yeah. I'm trying to exact effort and time from you.
Ooh, ooh, scary thoughts. So, but you would say this country is way more free than, like, say, something like slavery. We've already touched on that. Other countries where they can't, China, they can't even search things on Google, correct? They don't have
Yeah.
freedom of internet, freedom of information.
Hmm.
So, comparatively, we're very free, but yet we still feel like, hey, you turn 18, you can't just do what you want. You can't just go off and, I don't know, pursue your happiness, correct?
Yeah. Well, I
Can you?
feel like, so here's an example. There's like Warren Buffett's son. He inherited like a small amount of money, which it was
What's a
like
small amount of
it
money
was like
Warren Buffett's on?
80K or something. It was like when he
Oh,
turned 18.
that's not a billion.
It's
That's not a billion.
it's
That's okay.
sizable, but it's not a billion. But
Sure.
he chose to live the cheapest life possible so that he'd become a musician and make his own way. So he sold stock that would probably be worth hundreds of millions of dollars in order to do his
Ooh.
own thing. So, I mean, if you were able to live the cheapest life possible and get by on almost nothing, back then, I think it was doable. But now, I
When
don't
back
know.
then,
I don't know that you could pay for health care, all of these other
you
things that
wouldn't have insurance of any kind, whether
yeah,
it's health or car, or you know what I mean. I agree.
yeah,
You're
and
definitely not owning a home and doing a mortgage.
no, the inequality of cost
Hmm.
from then 30 years ago to now is massive.
Like 20 years ago, could someone on minimum wage like buy a house?
I think you could. I
Like, I
think
mean, you would have a mortgage. It wouldn't be a big house, but you could, right?
I think so. You definitely
Could
could do it
someone
in the
now,
60s. It might have changed
could
somewhere in
someone
the 80s or
now on
90s.
minimum wage, like, even attempt to buy a house?
I don't even. What is minimum wage? National minimum wage is what, $10? We already did this
I
one.
thought it was like 11 or 12, but either way, yeah, let's say it was 12. That's even rounding up.
So the federal minimum wage is $7.25. In most places, I think it's higher.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 10, 11. But
So that's only like $15,000, $20,000 a year, which is
you're not going to get a great mortgage. I'm going to tell you that, folks.
yeah. You could maybe, I guess, I don't know. How cheap
I
could you
guess
live?
40-year variable rate mortgage, baby.
Oh goodness,
Sign me up.
this goes into
Anyway,
the
we're gonna get
debt
we're gonna
slavery.
get too financial. I don't want to. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's 100% where that was headed. And I think we've done an episode on that.
Yeah,
Or
we covered that.
there's some predators. Check on them.
Yep.
Check the link below. But
Payday loans, don't do them.
no, don't do it. Don't do any kind of loans. No loans at all.
So what
So,
other areas of freedom? I guess if you didn't have any constraints, financial or moral or location, like what would you do? Like the end goal of life, the meaning of life is to find meaning in life. So what are you doing to find meaning and
so
be
you're
happiness?
talking about like if Minecraft was real life?
Yeah, what would you build?
Where would you live? Would you live by the sea? Would you go into a mountain? Would you tunnel underground? Would you build something out of redstone? Would you like make some that really pretty out of glass? Would you go underwater and scuba dive? Like what would you do? And when you play Minecraft, I think you figure out what freedom is yours. Oftentimes, I find myself going to wooder areas like the beach and making things out of glass. And then oftentimes, I will drop lava from high up because it lights up the night sky. And when you look at it through glass, you can see it for miles around.
That's
And I
beautiful.
kind of think that's what I would do with my freedom. Do you know what I mean? I would make beautiful things and live by the beach maybe or like close to it. And I
Is
think I would pursue some kind of making something beautiful, whether that's music or art or helping someone make music or art. Ultimately, I think that's what I would have done. Not necessarily with the people I am, not with a kid, not with anything. I'm just surmising, but that would have been ultimate freedom if no money or anything existed.
your pursuit of happiness?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think you'd be content with those things if you had full time to do them? You just play music all the time and you're just like, wow, this is great. And you just like
No,
continuously think,
but
wow,
this is great. Keep saying, "Wow,
best
this is
life.
great."
Wow,
Every day
wow,
you just wake up
wow,
and go, "Wow, this is
wow.
great." No, there's a human element of boredom or you can't sit still, the restlessness.
Uh-huh.
I think we touched on that where you can't be content. It's kind of just a human condition.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps us alive, keeps us moving, keeps us striving, keeps us inventing things. So, I don't know. What do you think you do?
I don't know. I'd like to do more creative endeavors that, like you touched on. I think I'd like to make video games, make movies and shows and stuff, and try to get into media and music. Something that's creative. That
That is funny.
probably
Interesting.
won't pay anything at all in the very beginning. I think about it like movie directors and like good scripts and actual movies that like tie things together and they like drop little hints and they all tie back together and they all mean something. And I wish I could do that, but on the same token, it almost takes like a financial incentive because most of the people that are probably working in that industry need the money and there's no way to
And
get people to just be like, let's all be creative together.
and keep this in mind. They're like you're creating the whole purpose of this is to create something for others to see.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that gets created will never get seen by anyone. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it isn't high res enough, or it doesn't make enough money, or it's not high budget enough. So the whole purpose of your thing is to create something for others, and it doesn't get seen, and you don't get paid.
So do you think it's really for others? Like some people just don't enjoy the endeavor?
Well, even what I touched on, when I want to make something, I do want others to enjoy it.
So
Like I'll enjoy the process. I'll enjoy it myself, but I'm not just making it for me because I feel like that would not be selfish, but I'm the kind of person who would want to share. I want other people to enjoy a thing I enjoy.
they experience it and say, hey, oh
Mhm.
man, that's so cool.
Wow, that is cool, awesome. Even if I don't, I'm not necessarily looking for money for it in this perfect ideological world, but I do want them to enjoy it the way that want them to enjoy it. Does that make sense?
I guess. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Like if I'm playing a
Okay.
video game by myself, there's an enjoyment there. But I also like if it's capable of being multiplayer, of course I want
Mhm.
somebody to come in and be like this is what I
This is
invented,
cool.
or like, hey, check all this crap out.
Yeah. Like you want them to admire the scenery, the work that went into the dialogue, the sound design, whether you pick this color block to be this color or not, like the little cracks that happen on it, like the details. You want someone to see the details, not necessarily pat you on the back for them, but you want them to enjoy them.
Yeah.
That's why you made them that way. I mean, maybe it varies person to person. I don't know. Freedom is freedom's weird because I also feel like it changes. What I touched on the intro was the Die Hard thing.
Yeah. Die Hard
Let's talk
thing.
about that. Well, like,
Braveheart.
oh my God, did I say Die Hard?
Yeah, you
Jesus
did.
Christ, that's so weird. I was picturing Braveheart. I don't know why I said Die Hard. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
what was
yeah, the
he? What
Braveheart.
was his freedom?
Well, he wanted the Scots to be free, correct? Right?
Because of prima nocta.
Not just because of Prima
Or
Nocta,
what?
though that
Other
was
things.
hilarious. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Longshanks and his men, like they were constantly. Was it the English? Right?
Yeah. English. They were probably taxing them, I assume, and then stealing
Taxing
their
the hell out
women.
of them, not letting them have land, having
Yeah.
nights with their ladies before the night of marriage, like pretty much taking any land they wanted. Like it was pretty much the definition of like feudalism. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where like, yeah, you can have your little plot of land. Oh, it's making money. Now it's mine. Oh, it's not making money. Good luck. Like, oh, you have some crops over here. You need to give me 40%. What for? Because I'm here. Like it was very. There's no upward movement in a society like that. There's no freedom.
So,
Correct?
yeah, what would happen if someone just said, if they had the power to say, like, oh, this is your house, you have to leave now. It's no longer yours.
That would be wild. Like we never think of that here in America because I think that's one of our freedoms that's very well protected and well
Yeah.
done.
Even if you want to evict somebody, you can't evict them
Yeah, it's like
immediately.
difficult.
It
Yeah,
takes a month.
months sometimes.
Yeah. And even now, it's like my house, even if I financially can't pay for it,
Pay
there's
for it.
Homestead Act. So it allows me to stay here longer than
3 months or something.
yeah, I think it's 3 months,
Okay.
but I don't quote
Yeah,
me on that. But
yeah.
they
Quoting.
can't take your
Quoting.
home away from you because of a short term thing, and they can't just force you out of it, especially if you're paying for it. Like if you own your house outright, like the only way they can take it from you is if you don't pay tax on it,
Yeah.
or you do something awful and someone has to sue you for it.
Murder.
Yeah, but
So
if someone were to take my house though, like all my possessions, all the stuff I built, how much could I actually genuinely take with me? I'd take with me like maybe the money I have in the bank and like anything I could carry, anything that could fit in my car, which feels like
yeah,
a
you're,
small part of my possessions. But then I also take with me like my experience and my knowledge and my abilities, which might get me back to this point. But this point it took me 15 years of working in order to get here. So
hmm
like that puts me back to like when I'm 50 something to like finally have my house back. Like you wouldn't like at that point it's just like screw it. Like I'll just live in a
So
shack.
we talked about like you have these freedoms. Like God forbid anything happened to them. Would it be worth dying for them or it if it maybe would precursor it to like the next generation, like your kids' generation or something like that? Like it was being threatened, it was being taken down from everyone. Would it be worth dying for?
So this is a Captain America
That's where I was.
kind of
Well, no, that's what I was going on the
yeah
Braveheart theme still.
the
But
nationality
what's
thing.
Captain America do?
Your pride of nation enables people to fight for it for
Hmm.
whatever notion. It's because it's like freedom's like a giant abstract thing. The people who fight for it, I don't. Again, I don't know if they're driven by other means, but I feel like the history we see is enriched with bullshit. So
Of
like,
course, it's like very. I'm the hero. I'm doing this for freedom alone.
yeah,
Of course.
it's meant to drum up more people in the military because you look at
Hmm.
Captain America, who's honorable and fighting alongside others, his countrymen, and I don't, I don't know that that genuinely exists. Like back then, if you look at like Vietnam, I don't think that very many people celebrated like fighting in Vietnam. It looked like it was You like,
A shit show.
yeah, shit show, exactly.
Generally a shit show. I think that's the best term for it because I think it was.
People avoided it at all costs. They didn't want to die in some jungle somewhere.
But what if the Braveheart theory, like what if you didn't have freedoms? There were feudalism for your people and like your children and like your families. Like, would it be worth dying for to have, let's say, what we have here in America, which we kind of agree kind of sucks, but is way better than it could be worse.
I don't know. I feel like a majority of people are going to put up with it. I don't think I could
The
like
feudalism?
if someone said you'll have I don't know that maybe a famine or something pushed that to happen, but if
Hmm.
you're provided for, you actually aren't getting forced off your land. You have enough food, and you have family. I think like that's enough to like subside on and be okay, content with.
So you're saying like less freedom than we have now would be okay?
Oh God, that'd be terrible.
That's what no, that's what I'm saying. The Braveheart thing. Like I'm
Yeah.
saying, what if you were in that situation?
Would you
Is
be
it worth
running
dying
alongside
for?
Mel Gibson?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I don't know.
I think the notion maybe.
The
What do you?
notion, yeah, I love the notion. I
I
don't know
love
if
the
it's
notion.
really. Is it what you would do? Is it worth dying for?
I don't know if you're fighting an army that has like horses and armor, and you've got like sticks, and you're wearing a kilt, and you're just hoping that like an arrow doesn't hit you in the leg or the ass. What like? I can't imagine standing on a battlefield like they did, like the Revolutionary War, and just being like, okay, I'm gonna fire this volley at you, and you're just gonna take it. Like, if you're in the front row, do you think you're just gonna take it, or do you think they probably shoot people that try to get off the battlefield? Like, you can't run
Yeah,
now.
like their own people. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I think they them. Yes, they did. Is that why they had swords too? Like the generals, because they would smack them against people like the side of it. I feel like that's a thing
really. Like, what do you mean? Like
because it
they?
wouldn't kill them. Well, like if someone was trying to break ranks or something, he would like hit them with the side of his sword, like not like slice them in half, but like really like it would hurt, and the steel would hit them, and they'd be like, "Get back in ranks." I thought that's why they had swords instead of guns.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, fair enough. Well, I don't know that freedom is worth dying for, but it kind of is because it's a beautiful idea, and I think like even this country was kind of built on ideas like that. You touched on the Revolutionary War and stuff like that.
Hmm.
We do have the freedoms because they fought for it, I guess, died for it.
The one thing about this country that I think true freedom really brings is the mix of people, the mix of cultures that you don't have in other countries because it's kind of uniform. And a lot of the creativity comes with that clash of cultures. Even though some people are really against it and xenophobes, I think it's
That's
the
interesting you
strength.
said that. That's really crazy, isn't it?
It's the strength of this country is that we have so many different people. That's like when you go like World War II when they needed a secret language to talk and not get code broken by the Germans. It's like they
Hmm.
went to the Navajos. The Navajo had the crazy ass language, and it's like they still spoke English because they're here in America. But like if you don't have that culture, you don't have that like secret key that unlocks everything.
Right, now it's eye perspective. A whole different look, a whole different
Yeah.
key elements and key ingredients.
So what about
Can't make a just soup without ingredients.
interesting that you went there? So I was talking about
Why?
you think about food. Like what about
Okay.
our livestock or animals and the ecosystems that we're viruses essentially. Like our freedoms mean that
Yeah,
we eat everything, take over everything, we control it as human beings.
we do. So our freedom takes away other freedoms,
Mm-hmm.
animals, vegetation, the earth, ecosystems. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Do you think it comes to a point where like the earth is so populated that like freedoms those freedoms disappear because we can't choose what we eat, like we have to ration things, we have to share land, like it becomes more divisible by the millennia.
All things in balance, I guess. Eventually, you can't become you're part of the earth. So if part of the earth becomes too powerful, too much of something, you're taking away from another part of the earth, whether it's natural or ecosystem or natural resources. We're gonna run out of those, correct?
Yeah. What I find crazy is like water usage. It's
Hmm.
like, yeah, there wasn't been like a day in my life, maybe a few, where I didn't have hot water, and like I didn't spend like
Oh,
10 minutes taking a hot shower, and like that's a rarity. I think that's like maybe a third of the world doesn't have that.
it is kind of wild. Something to take for granted.
Yeah, and like washing your clothes, like other people are going down to a river and like putting their clothes in the river and just like rubbing some soap on it.
Where all the bodies were burned, where all the fat cells turned to lye, I believe, in the river.
Whoa, what is that from?
You don't know that
No.
soap? Yeah,
Oh, the
they would
soap.
yeah,
Yeah.
wash their
What,
clothes in part of the
sponification?
river.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, there you go. That happened in a previous episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Gotta stay sharp.
What else is there that we, guns?
Oh, wow, interesting. I wasn't even going to go there. Are you a firearm owner?
I have one handgun. I
Okay,
actually wish I had an arsenal, but I can't keep it safe. Like, I have to have a giant safe
makes
in
sense.
order to keep it because I think that's logical and makes my kids
Hmm.
safe. But
Yeah, that
I
makes
would have,
sense.
and if I had a lot of money, I'd probably have a giant room filled with guns because,
Sure, why not?
yeah, who cares at that point?
I think we share a similarity in that I'm not against gun ownership at all. I have three firearms. I like how I squint. I'm like, I don't know, maybe three,
One,
but
two? Where's the third?
I have a gun safe, but it's like never opened anymore because to go into the garage and do it and open it and whatever. For
Yeah.
what reason? Like to bring it up to my room for the night because I'm scared? No, like I just have it because it's awesome and God forbid the world went to hell, it's nice to have. And they're cool to go to the firing range with or up the mountains once every year or so. But other
Express
than
your
that, it's
lethality.
hell yeah. Let those trees, let those squirrels know who's boss. But but I think, do you think there should be a limit on how many you can own? Like, what if it's a dozen? Would a dozen guns be enough?
I don't. I don't think there should be a limit because like then they have
Okay.
these weird rules about like what you can have. I understand
Hmm.
like firing like a bunch of rounds per second. Like that doesn't make sense to have that sort of power. But also the military has that power, and if they're trying to oppress you, it's like you deserve to have equal power. It's no longer about hunting
Now,
and
keep in
survival.
mind, it also nowadays military has something that could smote your entire neighborhood with a push of a button, and you're
Yes.
talking about firearms. So I get the disparity. There is a bit of a, yeah, you can
Yeah.
fight back a little
What
bit,
if you
but not.
built a nuke in your own home? Do you think that was like if it was possible? If it was, this is probably gonna. This is gonna.
Plutonium is not illegal, or is illegal, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you were to have a way of doing that, like the government would allow you to do that, they would take power away from them. Like it'd be too dangerous to other
Yeah,
people, which is
of
exactly
course.
the same
Yeah,
case
yeah, yeah.
for having an automatic weapon. It's like you can
So
kill.
that's what I was going to ask
How
you.
many
How do you
people
feel
can you
about
kill?
assault rifles, stuff like that?
So I don't feel like people should own guns that have that kind of capacity. Like if
So
extended
is there a
clip,
number
rapid
on it
fire.
though?
Is there a cap on the number of guns you can have that do that?
No, 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 no. A cap on the number of rounds per second.
I think probably there should be.
I don't
I
know the
don't know
number. I'm
what the
not telling
number
you to
is.
tell me
Yeah.
15. Neither do I. But I'm saying, so if you say there is, then someone's going to make a gun that's literally 1 round per
Yeah.
second less.
Or you sell a
And
gun.
then is
So
that okay?
I live in Texas, so there's people that like talk
Mhm.
about how you can get the semi-automatic
And
weapons, change
and
out a
make it
few
an automatic
pieces.
weapon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I know
like
all about that.
I've heard from them that it's pretty sweet to have because it's like the power. The power is like, "Oh my god." But I don't have a desire to do that. I know they're not like going to do anything bad with it. There's always a bunch of cases on like what happens, like where does the gun go, like if you lose it, like how is it being used like badly, and I don't know, just because you have power doesn't mean you're going to use it. And
See, I'm a little more in the other direction than you, I feel like.
oh yeah,
I'm a little more against guns, even though I have more than you.
yeah, why, how are you against them?
I don't know. I just don't think, like, a person can have a bad day and be so mad that they want to do something so terrible. Now they have the power to end so many lives when really they may not do that any other time. But all it takes is, one breakup, one catch your girl cheating, and then you go out and start shooting something, or get fired from your boss when you thought you were getting promotion because you've been sucking up shit for 4 months waiting for that promotion, and instead you got fired, and they're not giving you a severance. Like in those moments thereafter, like someone owns a gun, like I could see why they would use them or go crazy. Like you're not yourself. And there's no way for me to be like, okay, everyone owns guns, but when stuff goes bad, you're not allowed to use them. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way to control that.
The person who
So,
snaps. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like we all snap at some point. I mean, times are desperate. Times are crazy. How often do you think they're using defense versus offense? A firearm. Probably more the
I wish you have stats on it.
offense.
But there's probably no way
I
to have
don't.
stats on it.
No, if you look up the stats and it's a gun rights website, it will say these are the ones that nobody tells you about, where they saved their family at night or something.
Yeah.
And then if you look at another website that's like anti-gun, it's like very guns are the whole reason people die.
Yeah.
But I
more
did
likely to
know
kill
that,
your own family than an intruder.
yeah, I believe they are. I also believe owning a gun, like your chances of suicide are like 80% greater or some ridiculous number.
That's why you own
And that
three of
makes
them.
sense. I wanted to up my number to 240%, baby. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, 240%. But it's just, there's probably more bad than good with them. And I consider myself a pretty stable, intelligent, I don't know, collected, moral individual. So they're always locked up and whatever. But there's a lot of people who are a little looser, maybe do crazier stuff and fluctuate more with their emotions, where I'm like, oof, they could have 6 guns. Oof.
Plus, I don't think I could use my gun for self-defense. I don't know the scenario that it actually plays out, that I have the gun in my hand and someone's invading my home. And I
Well,
actually,
check this one. Someone's coming in your house. You don't know who they are. You're very confused. It's like middle of the night, and they're saying, "Yo, listen, I don't know where I am. I just need to use your phone. Can you let me use your phone?" And you're like, "Get out of my house, sir." And so he's like, "I just want to get in your phone." And he's wearing a trench coat. You don't know what's underneath, and he's stepping in your house. Like, and let's say you have a gun. Do you shoot that person? That's a
what if he's
weird
a
scenario,
neighbor? What
dude.
if you don't know who he could be
What
a
if you
relative.
do know? He's like a neighbor of a neighbor, and you've seen him like twice before, but you totally don't know that guy. He's a wearing
But he doesn't, yeah,
Are
you
you
don't know him.
are you shooting him? Holy shit,
Do you
dude!
want
That's
to put up with
wild.
dealing with the body and covering it up, burning that? Would you go to court? How, that's,
I don't know if that's not a threat either.
yeah, that's going to destroy a portion of your life. And not, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. You don't know who that person knows. If they're going to go crazy, then you have to worry about the safety of everything, and then you have to pretty much bail. You have to have a freedom of privacy, the right to be left alone, which we talked about before too.
We have. So freedom to bear arms, very under attack, very interesting. I will bring up a stat.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the coronavirus, the United States has reached 2 milestones.
Yes, passing
They
gun
went their
violence.
That's correct. They went their first month without a school shooting in
Yeah.
15 years. So that was very good on them. Congratulations, United States. Oh, it helps that no one was in school, but let's not go there.
Yeah, there's a
And now we've actually passed our second month. So congratulations again, United
yeah,
States.
that's good. Nice.
2 months, no school shootings. Good job.
There's a joke in there, but I can't remember what it was. It was very dark.
Stat is the joke, kind of, but it's an actual statistic, which is kind of creepy, scary, weird.
Yeah, that's almost that's crazy that it happens so often.
I don't think it counts June, July, and August, though. Consider that.
It'd be creepy if it did somehow.
Holy shit. Summer
Anyway.
school shootings? Damn, dude.
What was
I don't know.
another piece of gun? Oh, it's like there was a zombie apocalypse though. So all of a sudden, the amount of rounds you could fire is like the power that you have.
Man, that's a man fantasy, dude. That's Call of Duty started that, right? That they have the zombie, whatchamacallit? Yeah, mode.
If somebody in your
Amazing.
neighborhood had like a grenade launcher, he'd become almost the president immediately of your neighborhood. Like if your realm was the neighborhood, like whoever had the most guns.
Wrong.
You don't think so?
Low ammunition. Low ammunition. How many you got on a grenade launcher, dude? Like 9? Do you have 20? How many rounds could you have, though? Yeah, now see. Shotgun. Freedom, freedom.
Freedom to have as many rounds as you want.
So let's bring it back to, let's say, religious freedom.
Yep.
Okay, I don't feel like
We're like 97% like Catholic or something, Christian in this United States? It was a high
What?
percentage. What
Holy
percent?
crap, dude, that's got to be way incorrect.
Oh,
Christians have to make up less than 60%, I would imagine.
at one point. Let me see.
Oh, at
Um,
one point, I'm sure. Pilgrims. We were
70.
100% Puritan for like a few years.
Yeah. So back in 1990, it
70?
was 85%, and in 2015, 75% of people said they were Christian when they were polled.
Oh, that's interesting.
It
I
is
imagine
surprising.
that number is plummeting, but interesting enough.
Yeah, as people become more educated and make their own choices and
Oof.
have
Oof.
freedom.
Oof. So then, what is religious freedom?
I don't know. This one kind of hits home
Follow
because
a religion?
yeah, my
Okay.
I feel like my my mom's a religious and she's a little
Mhm.
oppressive about it. So like she would force me to go to church and go to school, and then like if I didn't follow like the religious line, like she would like kind of scold me and then like try to get me to
Do
like
you know
right
that's
myself.
more on the tradition than the idea itself? I mean, think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
your mom isn't really like, I really hope he is for the sake of it. She's more it for the sake of this is what my parents did to me, their parents did to them.
Yeah.
Like, let's carry this on. It's tradition.
This is
That's
the structure.
literally what it is. Yes.
Provides
And that
guidance and
if you
structure.
don't obey it, you will be outside of our tradition and you will move farther from our, in quotes, family, our extended family,
Yeah, whatever
is
that
what
is.
she's thinking. There's no way she's like, I really can't believe Danny isn't into the transfiguration of Jesus Christ in the blood and and bread of
Yeah.
communion. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think she's thinking that, right?
I don't. I definitely don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think it's more tradition.
It,
So, what is freedom of religion? Like, free to pursue a brand new religion? Like, how many people could just wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm Buddhist or I'm Muslim? I'm going to take up judeo-christian values. Like, do you know what I mean? It's real weird because religion's very steeped in tradition. You can't
yeah.
just all of a sudden wake up and be another religion. I mean, you can technically, but where do you start?
Freedom
That's
to
the
try it
weirdest thing.
out. That's like I knew
Yeah, I guess
somebody
so.
that was a Wiccan. So
Oh,
into
like a legit one?
witchcraft. Yeah.
Or was she just like goth and hated her parents or whatever and was like into that kind of thing?
I don't know. You like it's so hard to delve into the world because you don't
Yeah,
know enough to actually ask questions about it.
fair. I
Whatever
could
they
be
say
well.
could be bullshit. Like there's no way to
Mhm.
unless you actually are like researching Wiccans and then we're like, oh, so I heard Wiccans, and they'd be like, what? And then I don't know. Either it gets weird or they'd be really into it, which would make it weird anyway too.
It's
Because you'd be
weird
like,
regardless.
yeah.
Yeah, weird.
I feel like I don't know. There's like religious
What if your
expression.
religion's also like in a cult?
Yeah, that's what I was
Those.
gonna lean towards. Is that if you're creating
Mm.
these religions to avoid taxation or creating them in order to like milk your followers and just say like, oh, the Lord says that you should pay me now because I need my Lear jet. Like,
Hmm.
that's yeah, that makes sense. That I got you're free to follow who you like, whatever you want.
This will literally get to the next one where we talk about Jeff Bezos. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is it your freedom if you were a cult leader and everyone wanted to pay you? Is it would it be against your freedoms for them to stop them from paying you? Listen, these idiots want to pay me. I'm peddling them what they want to hear. Should it be illegal for him to expunge money from these people?
So this reminds me of I think it's called Wild Country, the Netflix special. Have you watched that one yet with the Bagram
Uh,
and
yes,
Shelley?
I did.
Yeah,
Yes, I did.
that they had their own little commune outside of this rural
And
town
they
in like
own
yeah.
Oregon? No, was it Oregon?
I
It was
think
out there.
I think it was Oregon because they talked about the one of the founders of Nike's descendants, like
Okay.
as a relative.
Well, and didn't they own like 51% of the land? So when it came to vote on things, they could just push
Yeah.
through whatever the hell they wanted.
So the townspeople hated it. They started buying up the land, buying up their houses, and making
Trying,
it so
yeah.
they could control everything in that town. And the people in the town, they have the freedom to leave, but they're being oppressed. So it was, I think it was part of like they they knew that like eventually they were going to find ways to take that cult down. And the
Hmm.
cult in the beginning, it seemed like it was genuinely a good thing
Yeah,
for
ha ha
most
ha
people.
ha. Yeah, they built a lot of irrigation in the
Hmm.
area, like built up some farmland. They did a lot of good stuff, but they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And they couldn't sustain themselves. And then, in order to outvote people, they started bringing in people, all the homeless people
Oh
from
yeah,
other
that's
cities,
correct. Forgot about that.
and then the homeless people weren't good followers, and they didn't follow the rules, so they
Mm-hmm.
ended up mass drugging them to keep them calm and keeping them drunk and away from them.
Here sounds a little against freedom, I would say.
Yeah, which is entirely illegal. So this
Cross the
is one of
line.
the weird things with cults is that they try to keep it all behind closed doors, much like other religions. But they keep it behind closed doors so that they don't get like a federal lawsuit against them or be like broken up. But that's exactly what happened in the wild country, is that they found out about all this crazy stuff that they were doing, and then you have authorities come in and break it up and say you can't live here anymore
Can't do this. Sorry, this is illegal.
because it was illegal.
Which is interesting because living there wasn't the illegal part, but doing everything else kind of was. So they had to break them up.
Yeah.
Interesting. It led me, what I was going to say with Bezos was, so capitalism is the ultimate freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can make your money, you make your money. I mean, should it be illegal for someone like Jeff Bezos who just passed? Did he become a trillionaire today? Did I hear that?
Let's see how much he's kicking ass. It says 145 billion. That's all right.
Oh, maybe his corporation's worth $1 trillion? I kept seeing a trillion thrown around with his name.
Let me see.
Just Jeff Bezos' trillion should solve that.
Say market cap. I think the market. Let me see. Let me just say trillion. Bezos.
That's what I told you to goddamn search.
I don't know. There's
Nothing?
too many stories. I don't want to read them.
All right,
I'm
that's fine.
tired.
Regardless, let's say his corporation, everything's worth trillions of dollars. I don't know. He makes billions and billions. At this point, the market can take a shit. 25 million people can file for unemployment.
36.
He's going to keep making money. Are we up to
I think
36? Good
36.
Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of this can go on, and he can make more and more money.
Monopoly.
Technically, that's not illegal. It's not illegal. Should it be? And are you infringing on his freedom if he's just exploiting capitalism? It's not his fault, is it?
I don't know. So this is where you're relying on the government to enforce like capitalistic freedom, or antitrust
Okay.
laws and monopoly laws, and there comes a point where maybe Amazon owns too much and they have to be broken up. But I don't think that happens soon. Not with this government, and
Not with the laws we have and correct the stuff we're dealing with right now and everything else.
and Amazon's probably at this point like the
Is
legality.
delivering more packages than they've ever delivered before, ironically enough.
It's nuts.
But
I don't know.
where's the freedom rely here? In people who've made their millions and billions. Once you've made $1 billion, it's almost a fact that you didn't earn $1 billion. You just made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because no one can. I mean, how many hours have you been alive? Did you break that down? How many?
Say how many?
Your hourly wage. Let's say. I honestly want to say it. So a 50-year-old is a 2 billion heir, right?
So wait. How old is Bezos?
I don't know. Is he 50? Is he 48? Is he 52? I have
56.
really no idea. Oh, he's older than I thought.
Yeah. So let's 56 times. Let me see.
365.
Times 24.
We're gonna round all these goddamn numbers.
We're
So I was
supposed to
going with
8 hours a day. It could possibly work, right?
yeah. Let's say he's working 8 hours a day. Good lord.
So that's 163,000 hours. So that's wait a second.
Okay.
That's if he has
Wait, since
equivalent
how
billion.
old? From his birth.
Since birth.
He's been working since birth. That's hilarious too. Think about baby Bezos.
He doesn't
just
take Saturdays and
starting
Sundays.
to work. No, he doesn't. He takes Saturdays and Sundays off. That's fine.
Yeah.
40-hour work week. I understand it.
But in hours,
Yeah.
that's what? That's 1,000 times 1,000. That's he's getting paid a million? Is that right?
No, there's no way it's $1 million an hour. That's ridiculous. For his whole life.
I think it is. Did I do that right? Because he's almost got 163 billion, right? I can't even type that many zeros. Hopefully Google will tell me how. Yeah, that's absurd.
What is it?
I think it is a million. $1 million an hour.
You're telling me in any society, I don't care what Jeff Bezos does, baby Bezos is making $1 million an hour until he's 56, whatever the hell he is.
Oh my God.
How his work, no matter what he does, he could cure AIDS and cancer and another disease and not be worth that an hour compared to someone who mops floors or drives packages for his company. I'm not going to go there. Or like even researches stuff for science or any job. I can't think of any job that's worth that much more than another job. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's literally a loophole in the system, and money gravitates towards it, and it's ridiculous. It's fucked up.
Yeah. There's a point where you own a process, and you I guess just because of the amount of money that like gets generated by that process, you now take possession of it. It doesn't.
It's a snowball you started that
Yeah.
keeps rolling and gets further and further, and because it's in a loophole, no one can even slow it down. And
Yeah.
now you've earned so much money that you didn't earn. I will tell you that. I'm not going to begrudge the guy. Like, sure, he's using legal loopholes, and I could care less if he gets, I don't know, a disease going around right now. But
It's,
but but
what if you're
there
the
should
the
be
inventor of
checks
like
and regulations.
yeah? What if
Okay,
you're
what?
like the inventor of like Velcro? Like there's limitations on the amount of time you can own that patent. But
Really?
like
Hold on. What's a patent like Velcro? Say you invent Velcro and patent it. Is there a limitation on the time? And is it the same for all patents? I had no idea. I'm not in the patent law.
40.
That's just weird. I mean,
Oh,
40 years?
It went. Sorry, I said age like term of a patent.
Yeah.
20 years from the filing date. It's the same thing with
Interesting.
music. It's not the same thing with music. It's like
No, music's like
75 years. It's
free.
completely free.
Okay. Oh,
That's
okay.
why there's so many like Mozart baby
Beethoven.
things.
Yeah. That are like,
They
yeah,
don't
no.
have to pay
Hey,
for it.
let's go. You don't gotta pay for anything.
I say their term is usually 6 or 10 years. So, I guess if you patented Velcro in the very beginning, like you're the inventor of that idea, and it's very simple but widely used.
But super effective.
Yeah,
Awesome.
do you deserve
You should
to
get
get
money
paid?
for it. You
Yeah.
get money for that. I'm not against that. I'm against $1 million an hour versus paying your employees $18 an hour or whatever. Like that's come on. There's no way you're doing that much more work or should be worth that much more.
What is
Agreed?
that per person? That's 160 billion divided by 330 million people.
How do you know how many people Amazon has? Did you Google that or did you know that?
No, that's the number of people in the United States.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
not
everyone.
that much, only $500 per person.
Okay. Wait, his
His entire net worth. You would have to kill a lot
really?
of billionaires to get that. Maybe a year's worth of salary. It's a lot of billionaires. But yeah, I don't know. See
Weird.
that inequality though. I think if an average person had $500, they'd probably spend it on like a really expensive video card that they don't use very often.
Is that you?
No, well, that probably is me too. Shit.
I was just asking because I have a video card that was very nice, a 1080 Ti, but we use that every day in this house.
Podcast uses it. It's really, you can hear it chugging along. Video processing, but yeah, I feel like most people waste that.
And wasting money is good, I think, for the economy, isn't it?
I guess.
I mean, using it, buying shit, like going out and buying some T-shirts and maybe a haircut for someone on the podcast, or buy a plant, buy a new piano, buy a doorknob. Like all this shit you buy, doesn't that keep people in jobs and stuff? Versus a millionaire who maybe invests all that money in a certain stock and then sees returns. How did that really help the economy? It didn't give anyone new jobs or help them stay employed or give them, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think freedom has changed over, like, maybe when we were born it was a lot different? I mean, you remember the times when the internet didn't exist, and
Yeah.
your freedom was really, your sphere of influence was very small, so your freedom really was like your backyard, all in a sense.
Yeah, neighborhood. It was a
Yeah.
neighborhood freedom. roam your neighborhood. You know the names of people in your neighborhood. You know stories from older people,
Hmm.
younger people. I guess you've heard tall tales, or you know stuff from TV like Wayne Gretzky and like super mega stars, but you don't know anything in between, right?
Yeah, I think now it's
That's
changed quite a
the
bit though. So you
now.
can have an argument online with somebody that you'll never see, but they oppose your opinion, and there are certain things you can't threaten people. So you're like the freedoms of speech
Hmm.
aren't governing for threatening or
But actually, it depends on the social media, doesn't it? You might
yeah,
be able to do it
the
on
private
YouTube.
private
You
entity
definitely
to
can't
allow
on.
you to connect to other people can choose
I
to
don't know.
ban you.
Interesting.
It's like a freedom of botting. Like I try to bot certain video games and they ban you from it. It feels like it's a slight. It's like I'm not
It
hurting
does.
anybody. Like
Like
maybe I
that was
will.
freedom. What
Yeah,
my freedom?
my freedom. You feel your freedom's infringed even though you didn't have it to begin with.
Listen, I got a freedom start a OnlyFans page. You guys can tune in down here. It's a one-time subscription fee. I show feet and hole. Okay.
And whole?
Yeah, mouth hole. It's a caveat. I always say hole, and everyone thinks booty hole, but it's mouth hole. And then I trick everyone, and
How
they're
much
like,
do you
"Oh,
charge
I
for that?
paid for this. 49 cents per sign up." Oh, just did it. Look at y'all.
Wow.
He's got
Wow.
a free peek sheet. Anyway,
That looked like kind of your jejunum. I couldn't tell.
kind of was my jejunum. So, what is freedom? Do we love it? Do we hate it? Do we need it? Sum it up.
Ah, I think we're so jaded. We're so jaded.
I love how I asked you about the most, like the biggest caveat of life, like freedom, the thing we all fight for and
Ooh.
rally our, do the fist thing for, and you're like, yeah,
We're so complacent now. Honestly, like if they took our freedoms, we'd probably be like, "Oh, what? Hey, give that back."
hey. Well, what if they took our cell phones and our internet and everything like that? We would flip out, right?
I think so, but then how would we assemble? Like, I don't know my neighbors that well.
How would we get back?
We
Yeah,
all
you're right. I
band
don't know.
together and then go assemble in front of where whoever took it from
Listen,
us.
you have one
Too
firearm, I
busy.
have three. We would all just meet up in some parking lot and just
Give one
find
to your
out
wife. Give one to your kid.
who took our darned internet and get it back, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they at this point the military is so strong they just like put you in a little corner and they say, okay, you can complain right here, just stay right here. They don't care. Do you think Trump would care if there were rioters at his gates? I don't think he would. I think he'd
You
just be like,
would.
just make sure the helicopter's spinning up, and if they break the gates, I'll just jump in the helicopter and
No
then nuke them all.
offense.
Just like,
My president fools you by acting stupid. He's actually an intelligent individual who's playing the media. So how about that?
yeah, he's very
I
religious.
read that today.
He loves
Yeah,
the
very religious. He loves the Bible.
which the
Favorite
New and the
verse?
Old Testament
All of
equally,
them.
all of the
All of
verses. I
them.
don't want to specify which ones. I don't want to offend anybody,
Old or
but I
New
love all of
Testament,
them.
Mr. President? Both.
Well,
I would say
equally.
both
Yeah,
equally. Hmm.
yeah,
Good call. Playing it safe, my man.
yeah,
So freedom is the ability to make a podcast,
yeah.
make fun of certain things, make fun of religions, make fun of people, but also talk about how they're cool to us. I don't know. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I guess the one thing we didn't touch on was really like being able to like talk about anything, even if it's offensive. Comedians jokes that are like, oh, cringeworthy but funny. That I think is core America. Because you get to the point where like other cultures like don't touch it. You can't make some like rancid jokes
Right.
about the government
You
or
might get killed or
yeah,
whatever. Who knows?
in China, yeah,
You know,
Chinese
keep in
jokes.
mind, in America, you're also able to fail. You can make as many rape jokes as you want. If you get booed off the stage, beat up by women, or someone throws tomatoes at you, or you don't make any sales,
Yeah.
that's not
Masturbate in
anyone's
front of a
fault.
few people just once and you're toast.
Uh, but
Give me your jejunum,
that's
that's
sort
all.
of yeah, that's sort of America. I mean,
Freedom.
I do like that we're allowed to do anything. We're allowed to fail. We're allowed to tell someone to shut the fuck up. Like that's kind of
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's glorious. I also love
Like
the
I'm saying my freedom, and someone next door says, "Shut the fuck up!" Like both of them are freedom. It's kind of beautiful. It's like, yeah, I get it, but I don't know. I love freedom,
the
liberty.
multitudinous opportunities, the expression
Yeah,
of the impossible that you've never seen before. I think that's glorious.
it kind of is. So maybe freedom ultimately is just about like diversity. change, difference, weirdness, craziness, something
Tolerance.
outside the norm, something that's not tolerated usually, something that's not pre-generated. It's fucked up. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes it's unlimited. Sometimes it's a screw up. Sometimes it's making way too much money. Sometimes it's all this shit. And I think it's good ultimately, overall, but it has sucky parts, failures, stuff we should check, stuff that shouldn't be freedom, etc. But ultimately, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. $1 million an hour.
$1 million for every hour, baby Bezos.
Since birth. All right. I think that we did a good job there. I think you can shut the fuck up now, Nick.
Thanks for your freedom. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anyway, folks at home, you can check our socials. You can check any other website. You can check anything. You have the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want. You want to not listen to this? Turn it off right friggin' now. But if you're still listening, thanks for tuning in. Check out another one. We like you, folks. We friggin' like you.
A lot. We'll shut up. Pow, 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 pow.
With some guns to shoot off. That would have been hilarious. Some real firearms going off. Ooh.
Good night.